how to stop being shy. So I mentioned a lot of vague concepts and things that have helped me in the previous video, but for this one, I'm gonna narrow in a little bit on the actual talking aspect of actually communicating and having a conversation with somebody. So when you're talking to somebody, I mentioned vaguely in the previous video that you want to keep the topics very, very relatable, very, very simple. And obviously you go back and forth and you kind of want it as like a 50-50. Like you talk about something, you ask them something, they talk a bit, you add on to what they're saying, you know what I mean? So for example, it's kind of hard to think of an example off the rip. I should have prepared for this, but I've been trying to improve on my improv skills, just my ability to talk off rip with no script. That's like 99% of the videos on the channel, but I have been able to get a little bit better, and sometimes you get into like a bit of a flow state and you're just able to speak on the topic and things just flow naturally. Your conversation won't, if you're very new to it, it won't be like that initially. Like it's a skill that you have to develop and get better at, and sometimes if you're nervous and awkward, it's going to translate into the conversation. So it takes some work to actually come at the conversation with just calm, content, and not having any expectations. But if you ask something more specific to like the situation around you, it's very easy for people to latch onto that. Like the example I gave in the last video is like, if you're in a pizza place or whatever environment and you make a comment about it, it's very easy to strike up conversations like that because you can't go wrong. Oh, what pizza are you getting, or what's your favorite pizza? And you're in a pizza place, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like, you can't fail, if all the other things are correct and your delivery is like normal, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna answer. It's very easy to answer. So that is a lot better when you say something about what's happening in your environment. Like the example I gave last time when I talked to somebody on the street was something about the weather. It's something super simple that anyone can actually latch on and talk about on. Like no one's, there's no point talking about some weird niche topic that no one's gonna know. Like some random thing only you know and you're gonna bring it up. That's awkward as hell. Like you just randomly bring up some revolution in 1830s or something. Like no one's gonna understand that. Like you got to get the autism questions out of the way. You can't overthink it. You have to underthink. You got to say some really simple stuff. And you might be like, oh, like small talk is so boring or whatever. You have to have a bit more curiosity and understand that there might be some information or a different perspective you can get from somebody. Maybe not every single person. There's a lot of NPCs nowadays, and all our personalities are just some basic Netflix, and you know what I mean? That's all that's all some people are composed of nowadays. It's just the times we live in currently. But there might be some interesting people. You don't know until you actually develop the skills to be able to talk to anybody and be able to bring out conversations and bring out a person's what they know about certain topics, bring that out of them and asking the right questions and setting up the conversation in a way where it's just chill, you know what I mean? Just having a conversation, no expectations, you know what I mean? So yeah, it made me remember, just talking now, it kind of made me remember that being super personal is weird, like asking super personal questions. Like if a guy or girl asks me, what I've been up to, I would keep it very vague, like, oh, I've just been chilling, working. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a decent conversation starter, but it's like, it puts a little bit of pressure because you might not know the person, like you're two strangers, and now I've got to kind of feel a little bit pressured, I don't want to tell this random guy exactly what I'm doing, you know what I mean? But typically you're just like, oh, just working, whatever, right? But that's kind of boring. Like talking about work, is a little boring sometimes. Um, it's you can't avoid it. Like you have to, I guess, know. There's like some small like details about the person that you just have to get out of the way, like your name and where you work. You know what I mean? Like what you do for a living. You should just ask more direct question later. Like, oh, like what do you do for a living? Is just like a bit later on in the conversation rather than just like, oh, what have you been up to? I don't actually like that question anymore. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Like, if I asked you what you were up to, like that would be kind of awkward. Like, it's a bit too personal. Like, I'm not actually. I wouldn't wanna. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now. But as long as the conversation, both people are talking for like similar amount of time, like it's not one-sided. That's, you want to aim for that. You know what I mean? Like a good back and forth. Because it's really annoying when you have to carry a conversation or they just talk, non-stop. Like sometimes it's a bit hard to conversate because our social skills and our ability to conversate effectively, the skills is kind of low and the bar is kind of low, which is even more incentive to get good at this skill because you're going to stand out. And people love to talk about themselves and talk about them. So like if you just ask them questions about themselves and indulge them, you can only win. You know what I mean? And I think that you got to just get over the fact that, yeah, not every single conversation on earth that you can have is going to be the most exciting thing ever. Like, you really have to have that curiosity and optimism that you could learn something. You know what I mean? Because everyone's got their own experiences, perspectives, and they're going to have something that they know that could benefit you. It's just about conversating in a way that brings the best out of the conversation. And as I said before, as a man, it is of utmost importance to develop this skill to be able to talk to anybody. Because to reach your potential and to achieve your purpose in life, you have to interact with people at one stage. You know what I mean? Like you can't be in your room forever. You have to get out in the world and actually tackle on life. Another great way to actually get out of your shell, be less shy and introverted, is to actually, like I said, go out into the world and have some experiences and some stories to share. Some funny moments or something relatable to share. That is also really good. If you're a man and you have barely left your room your entire life, I mean, is there anything really interesting to talk about? I mean, yeah, and listen attentively to what they're talking about and add on to it, ask questions, clarify if you don't really understand something. This and this and this, is that what you meant by when you said this, or can you please elaborate on that? I'm not really sure I understand. Like, ask those questions that allow them to actually elaborate more. Those are great. If you indulge somebody else, they're gonna appreciate it. And if you listen attentively and you don't cut them off, and keep that flow happening and try and keep it balanced, I mean, all you need to do then is just to practice and get out in the world and have this in mind, and stay away from inflammatory topics or weird niche autism topics. You know what I mean? Unless you're in the environment where that the person is obviously in the same hobby or something like that. Like when it's your interests, and it's very easy to talk about stuff when you guys share the same interests, obviously. But I guess in a more advanced situation where it's like strangers or people that you don't know, like you're at a gathering or whatever, you don't know who they are. You have to figure it out, right? Like what their interests are. Slowly with the small talk. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hope this helps, and I hope I managed to delve in a little bit deeper with just more conversating with somebody, and how to do that effectively. Hope this helps. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.